Well, welcome to a special edition of the Flames TV podcast, and nice to gather around a table for some significant news like this one. The 8th general manager in Calgary Flames history officially named today, and it's Craig Conroy, man. We know very well, and so happy for you. First of all, you called it your dream job. What's it like to officially accept your dream job here in Calgary?
You know, it's surreal, really. I mean, I don't know if it's completely sunk in, but been here so long, 2 decades, and to actually be sitting here, the GM of the Calgary Flames, it almost doesn't feel real. But I'm looking forward to it. I mean, the one good thing is we got a busy week ahead of us, so I don't have to think about it very long.
Well, it kind of goes naturally, right? I mean, you just sink into what you're doing this week, and you mentioned scouting meetings, but what about kind of now the next phases? And I'm sure you've given this a ton of thought already, but does it kind of feel instinctual in some ways to just kind of jump in with what the list has in store?
Well, it is. That's the one thing. I've been getting ready for the draft the whole year.
Yeah.
So you've done all the work, you've done all the bios, you're with the scouts, you've seen the players. So I really believe we're going to have about 90% of the list done after this draft. Obviously, we have the combines coming, still gathering information, but then we'll tie it up right before the draft and be ready to go. I feel out of all the things that we're having to do, I feel very comfortable at the draft.
What was the interview process like? Because there was, obviously a lot of external interest. So your situation being quite unique in the sense that you're coming to work every day and you're seeing Don working around the office. Stressful? Yeah,
there are a lot of closed doors. Don, definitely could hear voices, and I'd shut my door. It was, and it's part of it. I knew it was going to be that. It was just, I have to come do my thing. I couldn't just stay home. Yep. So I just was going about my business, and Don was good. I mean, Don, I know he probably had interviews where he wasn't in the office, and he went and had to do all that. So I just went about my business, and when we had our interviews, I didn't feel like my first interview went as well as I would have liked, right. But I thought the second one was much better. Only because I think they wanted me to nail down exactly what I was going to do, and I think there are moving parts. But so when I came back in the second, I said I would do this.
Right. Yeah, detailed process.
Yeah.
You talked about 2 decades in Calgary and the passion. I know, we've obviously talked a lot, here in this building, but you see it from you all the time. Can you describe sort of what it would mean and what it does mean to be part of this organization and working toward a championship within this city and this organization?
I mean, it's always been where I wanted to be. I mean, even when, obviously I didn't get re-signed after the 2004 run, and I was lucky enough to come back. I don't know what it is about the city and me, and, and I think maybe I never got that close to actually winning a Stanley Cup, but it was right there. I had 2 chances, and it slipped away, unfortunately. But I just saw how this city rallied around that team, how they just rallied, even when we lost. I think probably our party was bigger than their party. It was weird. And I just thought we have to bring a Stanley Cup to here. It's back to Calgary at some point, and obviously it hasn't happened. It's been a long time, and first round exits are frustrating, but moving forward, I mean, the goal is always the same. It's to get in the playoffs and have a chance to win a Stanley Cup. I'm watching what Florida's doing right now, and, they seem like a team that's destined to do it.
Yeah. Love that conversation that you had with the media just moments ago about Ken King and sort of letting you know that this was an opportunity in management to win that Stanley Cup post-playing career. Did you ever have a dream of becoming, a general manager like you had a dream of being a player and, being a part of an organization that way?
I didn't have the dream to start. It was always be a player.
Yeah.
Could I play in the NHL? Do I play 1 game in the NHL? Do I play 1,000 games? That was really the goal. But I think when you start, now your career's over, and having those conversations with Ken and then thinking, you know what, you still can win a Stanley Cup. It's just you're not down on the ice, and it's way more stressful up in the box. I will admit, you're on pins and needles up there because you're not going to take the draw. You're not going to have a chance to score a goal. You can't do anything. You just can sit and watch, and it's stressful. It really is, because you're like, you live with every play and you die with every play. So, to be a part of it now, and then, I guess at some point it was to be you do this, we're competitive people.
Yeah.
We always want to be at the top. We want to do it. And I think that's what drove me to play in the NHL, and that's what drove me to hopefully be a GM one day. And I did think, with Brad here, I was going to go somewhere else. If we did well enough, there might be an opportunity to move somewhere else. But then when Brad left, you're thinking, oh, no, there's a chance actually to do it here. Sure. And to be sitting here today is, like I said, it is a dream come true. This is a dream job for me.
In hindsight, did you need that time? Like when you look at that learning curve of, you're as a player, as you said, it's one track mind. It's play, play, play. What is that learning curve like on this side of it, and how prepared are you today versus, when you were just getting your feet wet in management?
Oh, I feel much more comfortable. I mean, I guess it's a learning curve because you see the things you do right, you see the things where you've made a mistake and
Sure.
how to correct those mistakes and not do it again. I mean, they're not easy to do. But you've already lived it once, you've experienced it, you're not doing it for the first time. So I think that's kind of the thing I take away from everything. Yeah. Being here 12 years, we've done some good things, we've done some bad things. How do I make sure we limit the bad things? I know I'm not going to be perfect. I know I'm going to make mistakes, and I think in this job, no matter what you do, some people are going to like it, some people aren't going to like it. You have to have thick skin, and I do think that's one thing that I've been able to take away from playing. Coaches have been very hard on me, my whole career, and I don't think they hate me as a person. They're mad at what I did on the ice, and they let me know it, and fans will probably be the same way if I do something they don't like, and that's okay. That's their right to do that.
Your role as an assistant GM, I mean, you're in that chair for, I think, almost 9 years to the day, obviously being in the Flames front office for even longer than that. But I'm curious from your perspective in preparing for this new, challenge, how did that role evolve over the years and really get you, your feet wet to this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one nice thing is everybody I worked with, from Jay Feaster, when Brian was here, and then Brad, were inclusive, and they let us do a lot, and be a part of it, to be inside, those little conversations where you have to make decisions. In the end, they always got to make those decisions. Yeah. So you're always in the back of your mind, would I do that? Maybe, yeah. Yeah. But I mean, we're a team. So once that decision came, we move forward as a team, just like on the ice. You win together, you lose together. So, that was it. But you're always putting like little, I think I would like to do this differently. I would like to do that. So you're always kind of putting a little checklist, how you would kind of, if you were in charge, how you would run things, and you're always looking to get better. I mean, as a player, people are always coming to take your spot. So you're always trying to get better. And I think in this role, you're always trying to get better. Chris Snow and I always talk about other sports. I mean, I would love to know what's going on with baseball. I would love to talk to football teams, and just kind of maybe they won't give you the real inside to everything, but how do they do it? What do they do that's differently than what we do, and how can we do it better here in Calgary?
What that process might entail, right? I mean, different sports, different calendars. There's always little things, I'm sure, that separate them, right?
You would love to, like you are always, I read articles about what the Yankees do. Obviously a big Yankee fan. I have friends that are working in the Dodgers now, and you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
And I know Snowy's got the Red Sox and all those connections, and you're always thinking, I would love to just go sit in the meetings, listen, see how they do their scouting meetings. I mean, obviously different players, but I'm a big baseball fan, and, would love to see how they kind of go through their process of locking down players. Obviously much bigger draft,
sure.
But,
Yeah.
those things have always interested me. And, hopefully maybe at some point I'll be able to reach out and get invited somewhere.
What does it mean moving forward to have, you mentioned Chris Snow, to have Brad Pascal, guys who you've gone through these meetings with, these conversations with, to have them right beside you as you begin this next phase?
Well, I think what I like about it is they know my strengths and weaknesses. I know what their strengths and weaknesses are, and you're not trying to figure each other out early on. Chris Snow and I battle, just so you know, like we battle, but it's good, because his mind, he thinks differently than the way I think. Yeah. Doesn't mean he's right all the time. Doesn't mean I'm all right, but it brings that conversation up, and then as a group we can kind of work through it. But it's great to have. I mean, I love those debates. When you think about the players on the bench, there's always some arguments going on. Some people think you should dump the puck in. Some people think you should carry the puck in. So it definitely is one where you want to be pushed, and you want to push each other to get better. And I think that's what the staff does. And to bring Dave in and outside perspective, I think it's great. I think it's one that's going to help us because he's going to see things maybe even a lot differently than we are. And I think then we can work together and come up with what works best for this team.
Yeah. Kind of on a similar note, you talked about players needing to come to the rink, in a good mood and have fun doing what they're doing. I can tell you're having fun doing what you're doing, but surrounding yourself with a staff that, you talked about being in lockstep, but also willing to have some of those difficult conversations. How does that all kind of come together in your mind to build a championship team?
That's what it is. That's a team. Not everybody's going to get along in a team. Not everybody's going to agree on a team. But in the end, when it's time to play that 60 minutes, we got to come together. You have, if I was in a scrum, you're going to have someone's back. You're not that mad at people for that time. And I think that's the way it kind of works upstairs too. You come together and, hey, we're going to have disagreements and who we should sign, who we shouldn't sign, how much money this guy's going to get, how much money that, if there's trades, but we're going to work through those and get the best deal that's for the Calgary Flames. And I do think it should be fun. You know what? We're going to, I said, maybe there's things we can do, to kind of bond and become closer because it's all about that. I mean, when you come to the rink, you want to have fun. It's a game. I saw a father and a son yesterday when I was walking on my car. The little guy had like a super long stick. He was the stick was like 5 times bigger than him. And he's just having more fun. I'm like, that's what hockey's all about. It's about having fun. You know what? And if you're doing that, the rest will come, I think.
Sticks are getting expensive. You got to save. They got a couple years out of them. That's all.
He's got about 15, 20 years in that stick easy.
Well, that's smart. You can't cut them down because then you're buying a new one right away.
Exactly.
Listen, there's endless things we could talk about, and I know you've got a few things. You detailed some of that in the press conference, but I know the coach is one thing I wanted to ask you about, and maybe more so just in the type of person that kind of goes on the topic that you just described, like that winning and that fun. Mm-hmm. You talked about getting youth into the lineup, and we saw glimpses of that, and maybe just sort of some of that excitement that can come with it. Does that new coach, I would imagine that has to kind of share that belief or share that kind of, at least that framework in terms of trying to get these guys ice time and give them the opportunity to show what they can do.
Yeah, it's the communication factor. Yeah. It's not every player is the same. So you have to know what makes every guy tick and how you push those buttons. That's huge. I mean, the coach needs to figure out what gets each player motivated and then does it. It's just one idea just doesn't work for everybody. So I do think that's a big thing. I think that leadership quality, you want to have someone that comes in the room with a presence and people look up to and guidance. And I still do believe, as much as we're talking fun and letting them kind of be creative and enjoy themselves, you need to be held accountable. It still needs to be accountability in that room. So I do expect the head coach to, he can do all the other stuff, but if he needs to be accountable, that's part of it. I've always felt I like that. I don't like gray areas. I like black and white. This is why you're not playing. This is why you're playing. If you do this, you play. If you don't do this, you sit on the bench, and I like a little life on the bench too. I like to see the coach get a little bit, fired up at times. Yeah. I watch different coaches around the league all the time, and, I think some are very stoic, but when there's a time, they're not afraid to kind of show that the passion, because when they show that passion, it goes through the team. They can't do it every game or every day or, but every now and then you're kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? It wakes everybody up on the bench.
Some animation.
And I think it's good, so it's going to be fun. You know what? And I think it's one where I want to grow with that coach. Like I said, I think it's, we got to be a team together. Not I'm your boss, this and that. I'm not telling you to do. We're going to work together. We're going to collaborate on this. We want to win. What type? I won't let them pick players, but what type of player do you think we need for these roles? And then that's my job and the scouting staff to go get those players.
Right. Let me throw one more at you here because I'm curious, just from having the good fortune of working alongside you for the past few years and knowing that you've been flying all over the place in your role as AGM and touching base with players, prospects, and you mentioned in your press conference, Elias Lindholm is going to be one of those guys that you reach out to right away. Relationship building with players. Is that a key focus for you moving forward with this team?
It is. I mean, it's always been part of my job. I mean, I think that's what one thing Brad said, your relationship with the players. I wasn't the best player in the world. I spent 2+ years in the minors. I've been sent down. I've been put on waivers. I've been traded. I've been in the first line. I've been on the fourth line. I've been a captain. I've kind of ran the gamut of that. So there's not really much that any player in the league has gone through that I haven't gone through. And, I wasn't a superstar. So for sure. Those guys are different. You know, they the pressures and things are a little bit different for what they go through. But I can relate to most players. And, you know, I said the worst time I have during the thing is always training camp. I've been cut. It's awful. I mean, you're crushing a guy's dreams. But that's part of the job. I mean, we have to do it and you move forward. And, you know, when I've done it, I mean, you feel terrible, especially the last few cuts because guys know they're that close to making it. And, you know, I think that's where those relationships, maybe in years past, Serge Savard, I said hi to Serge Savard. That'd be about it, you know, but that isn't the way it is now. Guys want to talk to you. Guys want to come up and, you know, our doors are always open. Brad's door was always open. If you have a problem, if something's going on, you know, let's air it out instead of letting it kind of build and all that negativity down in the room. You know, just come up and talk to us. You know, if you're not happy with something here, you know, we can do our best to move you along if that's what you want.
Yeah, figure it out. One last one for me, and I know you got meetings to get back to here, but obviously your wife, Jessie, and two of your daughters there today too as well. I mean, you mentioned family is important. It's a job that requires a lot of hours. You know, to see their support, to have their support as you've gone through this. I mean, what's family meant to you?
Well, it's everything. I mean, really, they, you know, they live those highs and lows with me. They're probably like, oh, great, here he comes. You know, like, can he just go back on the road again? Yeah. But, I mean, they've never, you know, that's the one thing when I miss birthdays, when I've missed things, when I haven't been able to go or you're at the rink and you're doing stuff. You know, the one thing over the years, I've never heard them complain once about it. Maybe they complain behind my back, but you know what? They've always been so supportive and to kind of have them on this journey, you know. Especially Jesse, right from when I was playing in the minors all the way, you know, to the NHL and then on this side. So, you know, and the girls too. The girls don't really, they were a little younger when I played. They were like, you aren't very good, Dad. So, you know, I was like, I wish you saw me maybe a little bit before.
Highlights.
Yeah.
YouTube that stuff.
But to have them here today, I mean, I wish Sophia would have been here, but you know, she's busy, so I get it.
Well, listen, we congratulations. Obviously, pride. We saw it in their faces too, and happy for you. And look forward to working closely with you here over the next years.
Yeah, and you got meetings the rest of the day. You're right back into work. Like,
but
let's
you know
go.
What feels good about being here? I know everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'm home.
That's right. Well, congrats again, Connie, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, thanks.